Hey guys, I'm back with another Play&Explain here on Stars. This time we managed to catch the rarely running 500 zoom pool. We had a lot of close spots and that's why I made a hand analysis in the end again. Unfortunately, at the beginning I didn't realize that my mic is not working, but I only lost like 2 minutes of footage, so should be still good enough and I hope you enjoy it. And here with 5-6 suited, I mix in some cores and as said, the big blind might be. I'm not even sure if it's a recreational, honestly, but yeah, we start with a core for the min open. And table 1, we roll 96. So I play mix strategy here between free bet and core, and I will core for the passive roar. And now on table 2, I might core this low frequency, but definitely not for 89 roar. Table 1 now, I will play small bet or check here. We have a lot of pocket pairs in our range, and villain has obviously all the strong overpairs, but also a lot of high cards. Now interesting that the small blind leads out into two guys, multi-way and this regular, so yeah. I will fold my ace queen here, but I'm interested in what kind of hand he has, which is flats in a small blind. This guy might even be a reg, I'm not 100% sure. Again, another multi-way bot. I start with check here on table 2. Let's see. Okay, he flat is for suited and steps in on turn. Interesting. Table 1 here. This is like the bottom of my defending range. 7 deuce, I gonna fold. And table 2. We could mix some raises with this hand. I roll 95, so I will core for this roll. And again, we turn basically the nuts. Table 1, I will bet small or a small sizing here. If I bet, I roll 82, I check. And here table 2 I check as well. Will most likely see a check back from the guy. And on river, table 1 here I check again. And table 2 on river, I will just overbet with the ace. And table 1, I'm thinking about my kicker here. It's obviously a potential bluff catch. We block 5-3 suited. Oh, I mean, okay. Yeah, I mean he could open 5-3 suited, so. And the 3 is an unblocker to many of his bluffs, so I guess I core. But yeah, it's a 0 EV spot. I think it's okay to catch there. On table 2 here I play small or check. This hand gonna be a mix. With the lowish roar I bet. Here we have kings blind versus blind. Unfortunately no action. Honestly, I didn't expect 500 zoom to run before I wanted to record the video, but then I saw the opportunity and guess it could be interesting, or at least more interesting than 200 for you guys. Ace 5 here is a low frequency open for me. Again, I'm not really sure if this guy is recreational. He plays 2 tables. I guess I give him a potential reg as well. So then I guess it's maybe only regs in the pool, but yeah, for the video we gonna stay. And 6-3 here is also the bottom of my defending range. Now on turn, I think I check again for the passive roar. 8-7 is maybe a low frequency free bet, but I roar 90, so I fold. And on table 2, I core the turn. And again, might have a bluff catching hand on river. He should not I mean, he will never bluff with a 6, obviously, and should not really bluff a lot with the 3 of hearts, I guess. So, mm, yeah, it's close. I think I call again, but we don't. Oh, we don't win again, but it's okay. Ace jack here is gonna be a pure fold. Pocket eights is too weak to call for bet. Pocket sevens here again, a mix for me. For the lowish roll, I free bet. Also, if there are no recreations in the blinds, you could also argue to free bet only. But in the ranges I studied, or which I play at the moment, there are some button flats, and then you mix with all those kind of hands. We don't mix here though with queens, we free bet it pure. And are happy to get it in those positions. On this kind of board I play half board or check, and I think queens wants to mainly bet. And that's what we're gonna do. Start with a c-bet. From my experience, people like to bluff catch pretty light, blind versus blind. So we hope for a good run out. And then we would happily triple it off. Getting a lot of premiums here. So maybe this time we get more action. Honestly, it's not the most profitable pool to play in. But yeah, now we started already and we're gonna finish it as well. Here, ace queen suited, you can definitely, I mean, it looks like this guy. I'm actually not sure if he's forwarding enough. Yeah, and now I tanked as well, which I don't really like, because some could see it as a timing tell that you have like a mediocre hand, because it's hard to tank with aces or kings here. I mean, you could maybe fake tank, but you won't. You will most likely not use half of your time bank for that. Table 2 here versus half, but we can fold already. And here, table 1, I start with a core. Table 2, we will free bet. And I think versus the small size, this hand with our backdoors is a continue. And here table 2, a very good board for a range. I mean, I personally play small bet or check, but from what I know, half pot is fine here as well, and you could even range bet it as well for half pot. So maybe you could argue that even half pot is the better sizing to take. But yeah, my strategy is just small bet here, and it's fine as well. Um, Now, not entirely sure about my frequency here. Betting should be fine with the queen of spades. Table 1, I check back. And we have a lot of potential bluffs here on table 1. We also have a lot of value because we float a lot of ace-x. Actually, I think on the paired board, I'm not 100% sure maybe this is a bluff. I have to look it up. It's pretty hard to know at those very wide ranges, and it feels like you get bluff catched very light, especially when the ace comes. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if this would have been a mandatory bluff or not, but from what I've experienced, it's more easy to like over bluff that than to under bluff. So try to give up more when in doubt, but could have been wrong. So I will find out after the session. And here on table one, after yeah, you can probably range bet this for small sizing. And now like two straights are getting there, so my sizing gonna be 75. And we roll low, so this hand should get in for this frequency. And now on river, 10 of heart is not great. Mm, but I mean, what else I gonna bluff? Maybe some small pocket pairs. I'm not sure. Maybe this is a give up as well. Unfortunately, I ran out of time. So many close spots, which is good for the video, I guess. But let's hope that I haven't punted them all. But I could let you know after the session, I guess. Maybe we go for another like Play&Explain and then some hand review in the end. I've heard from some viewers that they also like this kind of format. Table 2, I range bet this board for small sizing. It's nice that it's a lot of four-handed action, so I probably don't have to cut out a lot here because there are not too many boring parts. On table 2 now, I wonder what sizing I wanna play here. Mm, yeah, I overbet here. I'm not entirely sure if it's 75 or overbet. But with this river, I'm happy I picked the overbet size. And as he should not have like nearly any flushes, maybe some, yeah, I mean maybe some queen 8 heart or something. But other than that, I'm pretty happy to shove it here. Hope that you don't run into like, yeah, basically ace check, ace 8. Table 1, I check, queen check here. But also a hand I wanna mark, so yeah. Table 1, queen high is too high up in our range to bluff here. Now also our like deuces and threes get counterfeited and we have still some lower high cards. Queen has some showdown still in those wide formations. And table 2, I play small bet or check here. We roll low, so this hand gonna be a mix as well. And we start with a check for this roll. Table 1, of course an easy fold. Now when again two straights are getting there, my sizing gonna be 75 or check, reroll 11, so this hand gonna be a bet. And now we just have a give up. It's yeah a very bad hand to triple off. And table 1, this hand is a low frequency free bet, but we're not gonna find it for this roll. And this is a board where we could find some donks. It's a mix, you basically mix in most of the hands and we roll low, so we'll do it for the video and go from there. I'm not very good at those donking spots yet, but I try to improve there, and that's why I also like try to play them in reality then to get more used to them. Feels like, I mean, there's still one unknown player, but I'm not sure if it's recreational. There was, I think, this guy. Hmm, Not, I'm not having too many hands on him. Yeah, I'm not sure. The the 50 hands I have look rakish. A7 here is a bit too weak. I've seen ranges where it's and low frequency open, but I open ace 8 plus and mix in some ace 5. Yeah, so this guy should definitely be a reg now as well, but it's said that the pool is like too big for the early bird because if it's like 10 entries or less, or if there are a maximum of 10 players in the pool, then you get 3 times the amount of rakeback on one table, which then is also quite nice for rake battling because the effective rake is pretty low. Table 2 here, I start with a check. Start with a core and we'll do the same thing on turn. Now I think about hands I want to bluff here. Still have some like 8, 9 floats, maybe check 10 floats. Other than that, I mean, I started this line quite a bit with a mate lately, but it's a very hard line. Hmm. Honestly, this could be a bluff. I'm not sure. Again, I ran out of time. Many close spots where I'm unsure of. Somehow we win here. Okay, this is interesting. Should not really happen too much, I guess. So when we have showdown, then we probably don't have to bluff it. Here was the min open. We wanna flat more, and we roll 90, so it's gonna be a flat this time. Here on table 1 I play overbet or check. And we start with the overbet. Table 2 here we roll 97, so it's an easy check for this roll. And again a high roll on turn, so yeah, we just try to check this down. We don't expect to win a lot, but I mean he could still have the same hand or maybe some ace 10, so it's not like we never win or split. And he indeed has ace 10. So this guy could be a recreational though. That's why I size down a bit exploitatively with this mediocre hand. Some fish even have yeah, so it's now kind of confirmed. And some fish have the like out of fold button activated in the zoom pour, so often they don't even look at the opening size and just fold straight away. So then it's kind of logical or good to size down with bad hands, which basically want to fold pre. Here interesting as well. Mm, yeah, for the min open, I think I gonna core. But if it's for example, wait, let me look at table 1. I rolled 94 and he used a bigger sizing, so I think I can let this go. But what I wanted to say at table 2 is, if for example the button flatted here, then from my experience people core way too wide because they think they get a good price. Because yeah, now the pot odds are even better. But when you play multi-way, yeah, it's pretty hard to realize your equity here. So you actually fold more and not core more. And I think a lot of people get this wrong. But if you look at the sim, it's kind of confirmed, like what I'm saying. that you have to be pretty tight here. And yeah, I guess we wait for one more spot and then we're gonna sit out and might throw some hand review in there. And again a board where there could be potentially some donks, but I roll 80 this time. Don't wanna overdo it neither. And here he used the smaller size. We roll lowish though. With the smaller size I would call more though. And now on table 2 I think about my sizing. Guess 75 could be okay. Mostly Sora mixes, quite some sizings there. And table 1 we roll 95. I'm gonna check for this roll and might check raise this hand. And table 2 now the 9 of diamonds is pretty bad. I think I give up this one. I also don't block suited 8x like queen 8 suited. And here on table 1 I play overbet or check now, like 2e or check. And then I gonna check this hand. I think I sit on next big blind then. And table 1 ace queen is just way too strong to bluff here, so it's a clear check. And again when he checks back we queen quite sometimes. Could have ace check and hands like this. Here's ace 9, yeah, similar thing. Let's see if we get one more spot. Pocket fours, yeah, I'm gonna open at least. See what happens. And versus the free bet we are indifferent in theory, so yeah, but versus this size we obviously, versus the cold forward we obviously fold. Yeah, and then let's look at some hands, I guess. Okay, so to finish this video up, we're gonna look at some hands which I marked while playing. We had a lot of close spots, so I have 7 hands marked, and that's why we're just gonna go quickly through them. I would not recommend this kind of method for studying if you do it on your own, because you're mostly just looking at your hand and not at your whole range or strategy, which is more important than just looking at one specific hand. But for the video now, we basically just want to find out if we made a blunder or not. And so, yeah, we just look at our hand this time. And first hand was blind on this mono board, where flop went check check on turn as well. And in river we had a decision now with our potential bluff catch. And if we look at the sim, so our hand always wants to check on flop. It's yeah basically this kind of hand which has enough showdown but can't really value bet and is way too strong to bluff, of course. So we check twice and face a 75 bet on river. And as you can see, our hand is indeed indifferent, so it's mostly like this when we have a tough decision, that in theory it's kinda 0 EV. But what I can definitely take away here is that I, in game, in this like short time bank thinking process, I didn't really roll for the raise, because obviously our hand is also a potential bluff raise, because he should not really value bet a hand weaker than this, so we're not beating too much value, but have some good blockers, especially also to the 5x. We block, as said, 5 resuited, which is a very strong hand in his shoes now. So yeah, on river we are indifferent and we made the call. We haven't been good this time, but at least it was not a mistake in theory. The second hand was as well blind versus blind, where we floated queen 6 with our backdoors on check 9 free rainbow. Turn went check check, and on river now we had a decision whether we want to bluff our queen high here or not, and I decided against it and checked back and lost to king 10 off. So let's see if the solver agrees here, because as said, it's a pretty tough spot because your ranges are very wide. And on flop, our hand is, yeah, with our backdoors a pure continue. Could also mix in some races. Turn, our hand steps a bit, but not too much. And so we went to the river. And indeed, as you can see, so in this sim, like my hand is queen six of diamonds. It's a pure check back. And when we look at our range as a whole, you can see that if you have nothing on river here, you are allowed to bluff a lot. But basically, queen high are the hands which are checking bet quite a bit, especially like, yeah, the one with the mediocre kickers. But if you have like very low high cards, you can bluff them more often. And a hand like king high is already a pure check, so it has enough showdown. And because he, for example, had king 10 and he also checks it pure, and against our bet, it would be a bluff catch for him. So yeah, this was a good give up. After two fine plays in theory, we come to our first, yeah, I would call it mistake for sure, where we free bet ace queen offsuit, small blind versus button versus a regular, and start with a small c bet. As said, you can also use half pot here, but my strategy is 25% a check, so flop is obviously fine. And here on turn, I continued with a half pot bet with this hand, with the queen high flush draw, and luckily he folded. But when we look at the theory, yeah, flop as said, clear range bet, and it was the 4 flush completing. And I know that you mostly check a lot out of position here when the flush completes, but I haven't thought it was that extreme here. So if I see this sim, I mean, when we look at our hand now, it's like not really a punt to bet it, but yeah, I'm not looking at a strategy like this when I see like 12 or 13% um, big bets. I in game used 50%, but I resolved it for 50, and it was also only like 15 percent betting frequency. So I would have liked myself to just check everything, my entire range here, because when betting frequency is that low, I personally play just like range check, or if it's the other way around, like range bet, because it's pretty hard to balance those like low frequencies. So yeah, interesting though that it like the turn is such a high frequency check, and yeah, that's what I for sure gonna take away here. Next hand was a single spot cutoff versus big blind, where we opened ace 10 off, and we started with a range bet on flop, which he called. On turn, we continued with a 75% bet, and on river, I was unsure whether to bluff this one with the 10 of hearts or not. We ended up bluffing, and he folded. And let's see if the theory agrees with our play here. As said, flop just a range bet for small sizing. On turn, a very clear 75 only spot where there are two straights completing, and he also has all the offsuit king 10, so yeah, very clear 75% odd. And our hand bets very frequently on turn, so this was well played. And on the 9 river, I was unsure if my 10 hard blocker is a reason to check back now or not. And I also like asked myself in game if I want to bluff some lower pocket pairs or what are my best bluffs here. And as you can see, the low pocket pairs, when you have them, after you bet them on turn, like for a frequency, you give those one up and continue with like your ace 10 and even the 10 hearts continue on river. So you basically just give up the combinations with the nut flush blocker, like the ace hard, and the rest is fine to bluff. And I guess the low pocket pairs then continue on like a 4 card straight run out. Yeah, because then like our other hands are getting there, so we also need some bluffs here. But yeah, so it was fine to continue this on river, so it was well played. Next hand is definitely the biggest mistake which I made this session in my opinion, because yeah, I should just know better here, because it's quite a mistake in my thought process and in theory as well, where I chose a very bad sizing on turn. I'm not sure why it happened. Obviously, you can't always like perform your best while playing, but here I opened queen 10 off, button versus big blind, and flop is obviously fine to range bet here for small sizing. But turn, I'm not sure why I used overbet, because I normally don't really use overbets here on those paired boards. Somehow I ended up, yeah, just seeing my double gutter, I guess, and put in the big bet, where I thought I also have very strong hands, obviously. But yeah, let's see what the theory says to my play. So I overbetted and hit the river and shove. Um, and as said, flop is obviously fine. And on turn, solver doesn't like ever use a big sizing here, or like a very big sizing at least. So I would like to see myself play 75 here next time. I then resolved it like for overbet only, and then my river shove was fine at least. So he mixed a lot on river, but the shove was fine. But on turn, I think this is a very big mistake to play overbet here. But yeah, it happened, and I hope that I learn from it and won't do it again. Last hand we're looking at is again button versus big blind single raise spot, where we defended ace 4 suited, and where we called a flop c-bet. Turn went check check, and on river I was unsure in game if I should bluff my ace high here already, or if it's good enough to check. We decided to check and somehow won against jack 5 suited. So let's see what Pio says to this play. On flop, ace 4 actually gets into the check raise quite a bit. In this sim, our ace 4 combination is the ace 4 of hearts, which is only low frequency, but the other ones are in there pretty often. And in general, there are a lot of check raises, which maybe people don't find in theory, in reality. But as played, we called and turn went check check, and on river you can see that some ace-x get bluffed here. Our specific combination is a check, because it has, it seems like, enough showdown, especially when our opponent decides to not bluff check 5 here. Like he can just bluff every check here, so I'm really confused that he didn't go for the bet here. But yeah, luckily for us he didn't, and we somehow won the hand like this. Yeah, and I think that's it with our hand analysis. Had some interesting spots, made some bad plays as well, but I guess that happens. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one.